Let's be real. Living in New York City is not for the weak. So if you're not prepared for it, they will kick you out. So what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about why it's so hard to make it in New York City and a couple of different things that you can do to get ahead of the game if you're thinking about moving here. And I'm also going to share a little bit of context as to why I moved here and what it's been like since I moved here. So with that, we're going to get into it. So moving to New York City is a dream for a lot of people, but I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It is not for the weak. It is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the soft. It is not for people who are not built to handle any sort of resilience. So for those of you who are new to the channel and those of you who don't know, I've lived in New York for 7 years now. I came here in 2018 when I was 24 years old, came from Washington, D.C., Maryland area. So very much the suburbs, you know what I'm saying? Very much slower pace, you feel me, compared to New York City. So when I came up here, it was very much a shock as far as the pace is concerned, the amount of people, just living in the city, you know what I'm saying? I never really lived in a city before. But the first thing that I want to touch on when it comes to New York City and why it can break you into pieces if you are not prepared for it is finances. Living in New York is very, very expensive. And there's a lot of hidden costs associated with living in New York City. Obviously, you got to pay your rent. And to be honest with you, you can't find nowhere to live in New York City for less than $1,000. So straight up, if you don't have a minimum of $1,000 to pay towards rent, and yes, that includes having roommates, then I don't think you can afford living here. You know what I'm saying? So like if your salary is $40,000, it's really going to be tough after taxes. So that's number one. If you don't have $1,000, you can't live here, period. There's also a lot of hidden costs associated with New York City, or like not really hidden costs, but they just cost more. You know what I'm saying? So the train, that's $2.90 or pretty much $6 a day going back and forth. That's going to run you $30 a week, which is going to run you about $120 a month. Also, if you live in New York City, depending on where you live, they don't have the traditional grocery chains. They don't have the Kroger or the Food Lion, Giant, or the, you know what I'm saying? They have like Stop and Shop, and they have C-Town and Food Bazaar and a bunch of places that like are really expensive. That's not to mention a lot of other stupid costs that are just going to come with living in New York City. You got your gas bill, you got your electric bill, and then when you go out, it's raining outside, so you don't want to take the train, so you take an Uber, and then that Uber was $30, and then it was $35 on the way home, so that's like almost $70, and then when you got home, you were hungry, so you order Uber Eats, even though you cooked earlier that day. It's just a nightmare.
God damn it, same shit, different day.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to be perfectly honest, it's almost impossible to leave the house without spending money. Like, it's crazy. You can go out the house and not even want nothing. You can go out the house and be like, yo, I'm just going to go for a walk. That's it. And end up coming back with a plant, some books, and a shelf. And an overpriced coffee because you wanted to support the coffee shop that just opened up. So it's like you breathe and you get charged money. Like, it honestly doesn't make any sense. So if you're not prepared to spend money, don't move here. If your parents don't have money and you ain't got a lot of it, don't come here. If you don't have a savings and you ain't got a job, don't come here. So if like literally like
hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around. With your broke ass.
it has never been this bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm having conversations with people who work service jobs, who work in baristas, who work in bartending, who work in porters. Everyday jobs that used to be able to afford you a life here do not afford you a life here. You cannot afford to live in this city anymore without working 1, 2, or even 3 jobs. So if you ain't got the bread, don't come, because New York City will literally put you out on the street. Like, a friend of mine was like, yo, I'm afraid of New York City. New York City scares me because New York City will put you on your ass. Like, you will be homeless in this place if you don't get it together. You will be on the street. Straight up.
I can't eat. I'm broke, nigga. I'm broke.
Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about is actually New York City can be a lonely place. And that's odd to say given how big New York City is and like there's 7 to 8 million people already here. But a saying that I always say, people, I'm going to go dip into my motivational tip real quick. You know what I'm saying? The saying that I always say is life doesn't happen on the couch. And that is really true for a city like New York. So like if you're going to work and you're just coming home and you're going to work and you're coming home, you're going to work and you're coming home, you probably will be lonely that way. It's lonely to date that way. It's lonely for community. It's lonely for any sort of hobbies. You have to actively seek a community if you don't want to be lonely here, whether that's at work, whether that's through a comedy club, whether that's through music, whether that's through working out. That's like one of the #1 things that I can recommend. You have to actively seek community. And that's something that gets increasingly hard as we get older, especially as you enter your 30s or even your 20s. Not a lot of people talk about how maintaining a friendship as an adult completely changes. The rules completely change as soon as you enter your 20s. You know what I'm saying? Like, so please prioritize community, because if not, you can get lonely really, really fast. And it's not personal. It's just a fast-paced lifestyle. People get in relationships. They leave the city often because they have to go visit their parents. You live in another borough. It's a lot of different things that go into the equation of when it comes to community and friends and hanging out with people. But like, you really, really have to prioritize that. Otherwise, you'll be lonely as hell, if I'm being real with you. So the third thing I'm going to talk about, honestly, is like the emotional toll that comes from the increased competition and the frequency that's in New York City. I feel like a lot of people don't talk about that. When you come here, it's just like everything is here. Everything is heightened. Your senses are automatically heightened because it's loud and everything's big and whatever. But like, you can literally feel the city just operating at a higher frequency than most parts of the country, or really the world for that matter. It's like everybody's in a rush, everybody's in a hurry, everybody has somewhere to be, and that kind of rubs off on you, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's tough, you know, especially if you're creative, because everybody moves to New York City. You know, everybody in the small town in the Midwest who wanted to be an actor or a singer, they probably either came here or they came to LA. It's like a thing where like every idea that you have, I remember when I first moved here, people was telling me like, yo, like every idea that you got, just picture like a line of 100 people with the same idea as you. And some of them probably get better, further along than you and better than you, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's very competitive, but New York does support one another. It's a very grind and hustle place. So you'll find a like-minded community no matter what it is that you're trying to do. And people will welcome you in with open arms, but it can just, you can be your own worst enemy sometimes, because you see somebody who's doing what you're doing at a higher level, or they're doing it at a higher quality or a higher frequency or more often. And it makes you feel like, well, I'm not doing enough, or I'll never make it. But that's not true, because there's enough room for everybody. There's enough clients, there's enough money, there's enough revenue for everybody to exist. So you just can't give up, but you do have to know that it is very competitive here, especially on the corporate world. Like, I was talking creatively just now, but like, my resume is pretty good. I work for the federal government. I've worked for Viacom, CBS Paramount, or whatever. I've worked for Yelp. I've worked for startups. I've worked for McKinsey and Company. And I haven't been able to find a job in over a year. Like, the job market is totally cooked. That's a whole nother category conversation, you feel me? But to be honest with you, it's just very competitive, and you got to be prepared for that. And another thing I'm going to talk about is like, you really have to find your why here. You know what I'm saying? You really have to find your purpose as to why you're in New York City, because I feel like if you just come here for a career, like just because you got that fancy job, like you're going to be unfulfilled, and the city's going to get old really fast, and you're going to be living on past memories. So whatever that goal is, whether it's to run a marathon, or whether it's to join a club, or whether it's to open your own business, something, like you really have to find a reason to be here outside of the job that you go to every day, because you're going to start to dread the city very much, because there's a lot of things to dislike about it. There's a lot of things to love too, but you have to be intentional, especially the older we get, when it comes to what you're going to get out. Because I always say, when it comes to New York City, you get out what you put in. So if you're willing to be open-minded, you're willing to talk to people you don't know, you're willing to be in communities that you don't know much about, you're willing to try new things, you will have a lot of spontaneity and spark in your life. But life does not happen on the couch, like I said. So if you're going home every single day and you're just sitting on the couch, yes, you are probably not going to like New York City. But if you're open and you want to experience life and you want to experience new things, then you'll probably like New York City a lot. And also another thing too, if you're still watching the video by this point, really appreciate that. But like on the expensive tip, man, like it's just so expensive. Like if you have a car, like don't bring it here. But at the same time, when you do have a car here, you're like, damn, I don't know how I operated without one. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things. But I can definitely tell you I'm paying like $1,000 in parking tickets a year, or camera tickets, because New York City is fucking ruthless. Ruthless, dog.
I'm tired, boss.
They ain't worse than DC, though. DC crazy. DC will literally give you 2 tickets for the same thing. Like, you say you going out to drink, to eat or whatever, and you don't got your front license plate on or something, they'll give you like 2 or 3 tickets for the same thing. You have to pay the same ticket. Like, it's like, how does that make sense? Like, you can put a ticket on top of another of the same ticket. It don't make sense. that's going to do it for me. So if you like this video, leave a like, comment. Please leave a like. It really, really helps out the algorithm. Really helps YouTube know that you like this content. And let's get some discourse below. Talk about a couple of things that I didn't mention on in this video. And also, too, what else do you want to hear from me? Let me know what y'all want me to talk about. I got you. I literally am unfiltered. I'll let y'all know what the fuck it is. You feel me? So, all right, that's going to do it for this video. Next video, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to come back soon. I got some exciting updates to share with y'all, baby. Peace.